Yeah, good evening, dear friends. Once again, welcome to the today's session. So, we are discussing the literary genres. So, in the previous classes, we discussed the poetry in detail, and we have gone through this quiz and have given a task to you to complete the Google form examination. Uh, but only few responses received from you. Anyhow, we will be moving to the today's topic, that is drama. In the previous class, I just gave some introduction about what is drama and what are the elements of drama and what is the structure of a drama. And I stopped here after explaining the structure. And in today's class, we will be the comedy and tragedy. We are also looking at some sorry important terms which are related to drama and the forms of dramas based on the form, based on the content, and we will be also looking into the types of comedies and the new type of drama, that is tragic comedy, very important, and other important terms which are related to drama in brief. So without wasting time, let us quickly go into the class. So in the previous class, we discussed what is drama. A drama is a form of literary genre in which the playwright or the dramatist speaks through the characters, speaks through the situation, speaks through the scenes and all. So we discussed this point in the previous class. When the novel is written, the task of the novelist is finished. But when the drama is written, the dramatist has to face more difficulties because the task is not over yet. Yes. So, because he has to take care of the characters, he has to take care of the props, scenery, other stage directions, and all, and especially the performance of the drama. Now, the origin of drama, we discussed that it is from the Greek. The meaning of the word drama is to act, to perform, to do. So the famous dramatists are Sophocles and Euripides, and we also discussed the importance of chorus in Greek drama. However, we have a separate section in the today's class also about chorus. The chorus is mainly intended to make some announcements on the stage. Then the elements of drama can be categorized into three parts, three ways. Those are literary elements, which are related to literature. Literature in the sense, the story, the theme, the dialogues of the characters are the literary elements. The technical elements are the scenery, that means the setting of the stage. Props, this is an important term to remember. Props are nothing but objects which are appear on the screen, and along with these lights, music, makeup, costumes, wigs, all these are called as the technical elements. Then coming to the performance elements, performance through the facial expressions, the dialogues, that is vocal expressions, and gestures through body language of the actors. So these are the three elements to remember. But according to Aristotle, there are six elements of drama. This is very important to note. And of these six elements, he gave much priority to the plot. So don't forget this. Plot is the most important element of a drama. It is the soul of tragedy. He says that. So I have given a code for this. So yesterday we discussed this code, that is PCTDMS. That is plot, character. The second thing should be character, and the third one is theme, and next dialogue, music or rhythm, that is M, and finally the spectacle. So these six are called as the elements of drama according to Aristotle. So I have given a code for this to remember the six elements in an order, that is PCTDMS. However, we will be discussing the same in literary criticism chapter also. So now we will moving into the structure of a plot. This is the structure of a structure of a play. So the general term, we frequently do a mistake, that is climax. So climax is not we see in movies, that is at the final scene of the story or a movie. So it is the highest point of action, highest point of the point, suspense or action is the climax. So which is the third act or so. So play has five acts. You should remember this. Act is nothing but a division. The third term for stand, anyone say? So yesterday we were discussing about comedy. Uh, 99 parts of this. So the other term is my voice clear? Is my voice clear, please? Please respond to the chat box. Now it's okay, sir. Okay. Thank you. It may be a slight signal issue. It may be with you or it may be with me. If I am wrong, please just uh, type it in the chat box so that I can just make some changes. Okay. Yeah. Not clear. Swati. Ravindra sir, is my voice clear? Please respond.
Okay, sir. It's good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Um, Sorry for the disturbance. Just please use the chat box to talk about to talk to me something, to tell me something. Yes. The climax, we are talking about the climax, and we are also talking about the play, which has five acts. And I was reminding you about a term which is related to stanza in poetry. The other term we used in epic, especially the Divine Comedy. The Dante's Divine Comedy, when we are discussing about Dante's Divine Comedy, we were discussing about a term. What was the term? Any clue? Canto, Canto. I'm typing in the chat box. Canto is a term which is related to a stanza, a part. So a section of a poem, that is. So here in play, generally the play is divided into acts. General structure of play has five acts according to the classical tragedy, the classical play, that is of Greek origin. So the number of acts in a play should be five. So the first important action of the play is exposition. Exposition is nothing but it's an introduction to explain something. It talks about the characters, it introduces the character, it introduces the situation, it introduces the setting also, the place. When it comes to the rising action, the complication starts. A conflict starts in the play. It may be because of a problem, it may be because of an error, it may be any other issue. So the problem starts in the rising action. The rising action is nothing but complication or rising action. It is generally in the second act or the third act of the play. And coming to the third part, I mean third structure, that is third step, is climax. In the climax, the complication reaches its highest point. The complication worsens, and the falling action starts. That is denouement. Denouement means the falling action starts. So here you can just see the falling action starts in this way. Yeah. So after reaching the climax, the falling action starts. Here, the result of the problem, that may be result of the problem, maybe the issue worsens, maybe the death of other characters on the tragedy, especially in the tragedy. But coming to the final stage, we generally call it as the solution or catastrophe. The final stage of a play is solution or a catastrophe. In generally in comedy, we call it as a solution, but in tragedy, it is catastrophe. That is the death of the important characters of the play, especially the hero. Especially the hero dies in the final scene or final act. So, whereas in comedy, the celebration, that is the marriage, is the most common solution in a comedy. But whereas in tragedy, catastrophe is the solution. That means the death of the major characters. So please remember this difference. So every play has this five steps. Yes. Then coming to the tragedy. So this is from the Greek word tragus. So we are discussing now tragedy. Tragus is a Greek word which means goat song. So generally the tragedy means, we need not to go deep into the meaning. The general meaning is as unhappy ending. A play, generally a serious play, which ends unhappily, which ends with the death of the hero. And that is due to the error of the hero. That is due to the fault in the character. That is due to the pride of the character. So these are the reasons for the downfall of the great man. Generally, all tragedies talk about the great personality. It may be us. So the hero is elevated in such a level, and finally, in the last scene, the hero dies. So here, in ancient drama, the actors uses buskin or khoternus. This is nothing but a high-heeled boots, or a thick-soled high-heeled boots. This is about classical tragedy. So because of these high boots, the character may appear tall, majestic. Okay, so this is not much important, but just remember this term. Buskin is nothing but a high-heeled boot, which is used by the character in Greek drama. I told you earlier, verse, that is the poetry, is used generally in tragedy and comedy, and it's a mix of prose and poetry. Please do make a note of this. I already told you in the first class itself. Generally, a drama uses verse and prose, but there is a difference. The noble characters generally uses the verse, poetry. Even in Telugu stories like Ramayana and all, the special important characters, the main characters will use poems. తెలుగులో పద్యాలు ఉంటాయి కదా సో అవి అండ్ కమింగ్ టు ద లో క్యారెక్టర్స్ లైక్ ఎ క్లౌన్ like a madman, like other characters, low characters, they use prose. Simple thing. So this is the general usage of the drama, but it is not everywhere. It is not the rule to follow it everywhere. But generally, the prose is used by a madman or a clown, but the verse is used by the high personalities, that is main personalities or main characters. So in as you like it, it's a drama by Shakespeare. The main characters also have some long narratives in the prose. So as I was just mentioning that generally it is used by the clown, but this is not much important, but just for your idea I'm just giving you. And we have come to the important topic that is called three unities. This is a rule of drama which is given by Aristotle. So do you have any idea what is meant by three unities? What is the main idea of three unities in Greek drama and why it is useful? If you have any idea, please type in the chat box. So there are three unities: unity of time, place, and action. Very nice. Yes. So Lakshmi Rampalli, may I know the reason why you are raising a hand? If you want to say something, please. You have just raised your hand. Okay, no problem. Not problem. Right. So three units. We all know that unit of time, place, and unit of action of the three unities of drama, classical drama. But why? Yeah, time should be 24 hours, right, Srikant? Why? Why these three unities are mentioned by Aristotle? Yeah, yesterday I was telling about the chorus in Greek drama. That is a literary device. That is a technique. We can call it as a technique of drama to represent the events of drama. Instead of showing on the screen, directly they report. The chorus comes to the stage and they directly report the event. Here, the main purpose of the technique is to avoid the delay in the stage, the performance. So, generally in Greek drama, what Aristotle believed is that a drama should be done on the stage. So, I was talking about the graphics yesterday, graphics on the stage and all other stage decorations, and even in today's movies, we can see that 1,000 years later or 500 years ago, it's possible to show on the screen today, but in the ancient drama it was not possible. So that's why they gave some rules. So these three are the rules, that is unity of time, unity of action, unity of place. See, unity of time is nothing but the event, the time taken to represent the action on the stage must be the time taken to watch the drama. Almost it should be equal to that, or not more than 24 hours. So why? What happens if it is more than 24 hours? So again we have to use the chorus. Again we have to use the chorus on the stage, and we have to tell the audience. So the graphics are not available at that time. So and they felt that it was unnatural to prolong a play more than 24 hours. So that's why just remember unity of time is nothing but the amount of action which is possible to show on the screen is only what to what extent it is allowed. That is only up to the action of 24 hours only. The time should be below 24 hours. Then coming to the unity of action, that one single plot one event should be related to one particular hero or one particular situation only. But nowadays, the movies can collaborate three or four or five sub scenes and uh, subplots. It's not it's possible on the TV now. So when we watch some movies, we don't know why they are showing this scene one in some place and about some person, and scene two is about some other person, and scene three will be other person. So at the end of the movie only we come to know why they are showing divergent plots, and we are unable to guess what is the logic which is connecting these three or four scenes, different scenes. So that is the reason they have given a rule that the action should be related to one particular situation, that should be on one particular plot. So episodic, flashbacks, all these are not possible. Subplots are not possible on the screen. And at the same time, unity of place. So nowadays it is possible. The scene one may be in America, the scene two may be in India, and scene three can be moved to Australia. It's possible now on the screen, but at that time it was not possible. So they have given a rule. That's why unity of place is very important. It should be in one place only, one physical location only. Whatever the news, whatever the other events which are related to this particular situation, particular place, are simply reported by the chorus. So you got my point now. So this is the main role of the chorus in Greek tragedy. So chorus is nothing but a group of actors or a group of singers whose business is to report. That's it. What is happening off the stage, out of the stage. Suppose the hero may be returning from war, or some bad news occurred in some other place which is related to the particular scene, so which is simply reported through the chorus. So it is like a bridging the gap, it is filling the gaps, that's it. So this is a important term. So just please remember, that's it. Only not much important, but three unities. What are the three unities? Unity of action, unity of time, and unity of place. So and remember one more point. Aristotle mentioned only two. That is unity of place was it is all unity of time. For that, next coming to Greek, antagonist is nothing but the villain. Particular, I'm going into details, and this is very very important. Hamartia is nothing but error, to error, to error, to make error. My voice is working, maybe because of the network issue today. Anyhow, I will just try to go outside. Mm, 1 second, so please give me a minute. Yeah, if it is clear. Please say yes or no in the chat box. Shiva sir, I'm waiting for your response. No, it's clear. Okay, okay. Rajamouli sir, is my voice clear? Okay, sir, thank you. Hamartia is very, very important term to remember. That is the error of the judgment. So directly you have to remember the term. Hamartia is nothing but error. Error in the judgment. So that is the main reason for the fall of the hero or heroine or the main character of the tragedy, especially in tragedy. We are discussing the tragedy now. So hamartia is very, very important term. So hamartia is the error of judgment. For example, in King Lear by Shakespeare, the hero King Lear did not trust his daughter. That is the reason for his downfall. In Othello, the jealousy is the error made by the hero. In Hamlet, in Hamlet, the madness, or we can call it as the postponement. Postponement is one of the errors, or even trusting he's not ready to trust his ghost. This is the father. He's not sure about the father's statement. The devil appears to him and gives a statement that his uncle has killed him, the brother has killed him, but the Hamlet is not accepting that, and immediately not accepting that truth, and that is the error of judgment in the hamartia, that is in the Hamlet. And so if we do any error of judgment, what happens? That will be peripetia. Peripetia means nothing but the sudden reversal of the fortune of the protagonist. That is, everything will be turned. So once he disbelief, once there is an error, what happens? His fate will be reversed. So the known characters, even the known characters will be plotting behind the hero. So that is the issue happens with peripetia. Peripetia means an important term. When there is a term in examination like peripetia, you should directly immediately go to the word reversal of fortune. So when there is a word hamartia, error of judgment, immediately these two words should be like a collocations. Collocations, when a collocation is nothing but a group of words which are used in a common way. That is, blackboard is a word. When we are talking about board, we immediately go to the word blackboard. So in this way, hamartia, error of judgment; peripetia, reversal of the fortune; and anagnorisis, very important term. This is also, anagnorisis is nothing but the moment of recognition. The the hero recognizes his fall mistake. Hero recognizes his mistake, but it is too late in the story. Even if he recognizes the mistake, he cannot do anything at that point of time. So that is, anagnorisis is nothing but peripetia is a reversal of fortune, and after reversal of fortune, he realizes his mistake. The moment of recognition, realization. So even if he realized in the play, nothing is in his hands now. So that is very, very important. And this is very, very important term, catharsis. Catharsis is nothing but purgation, purification of emotions, purification of emotions. That is, um, the audience will enter into this drama room. They watches the entire drama, and their emotions are raised at certain point of time, And at the end of the drama, what happens? Their emotions are purified, their emotions are cleaned, especially by pity and fear. So pity in the sense they will be worried about the status of the hero, and they will be afraid of the blood, the killing, and all the other issues on the screen. So that is the important point. Purgation or catharsis, which is the purification of the emotions, which is stated by Aristotle. And here, please make a note of one important critic's words, that is F.L. Lucas. F.L. Lucas. I did not mention it here, but it is there in the criticism chapter. Anyhow, we will be discussing criticism, but today I'm connecting this catharsis to the Lucas. Just remember, catharsis, what catharsis says? Catharsis is a purification of emotions. But F.L. Lucas rejects this theory. He rejected this theory. He simply says that it is a medical metaphor. It's a medical metaphor. And he says that what is theater? Theater is not a hospital to, to cure our diseases, to cure, to purify our emotions. So he says his famous dialogue, just make a note of this: the theater is not a hospital. The theater is not a hospital. This is a famous criticism by F.L. Lucas, in which he rejected the theory of catharsis. So please note this criticism. The theater is not a hospital. This is already included in the criticism chapter, but anyhow, I am just reminding to you. Criticism chapter. We will discuss in criticism chapter in detail. The theater is not a hospital. Just make a note of it. And coming to the catastrophe, I already told you, in tragedy, catharsis takes place, whereas in comedy, solution comes. That is the marriage of the couples. And in catastrophe, the death of the hero and other important characters of the play. So catastrophe is nothing but a final action, that is usually the death of the hero. And in between, uh, even in tragedy, there is some comedy. Even in tragedies, there is some comedy. This comedy is called as a comic relief. Comic relief. So why we have comic reliefs in the um, tragedies? Can anyone guess why we have tragic or comic reliefs? Comic relief in tragedies. What is the main role of comic relief in the tragedies? Comic relief. Okay, for humor. Okay, for fun, right? Maybe to relieve from the tensions. Yes, yes. It is there on the screen. Just I'm going to it. Right. So the main intention in the tragedy is to raise the complication, to reach the climax, and then the falling action starts, and the death of the hero happens at the end. So it is purely based on one particular issue, that is raising of the emotions and cleaning of the emotions. That is what we call purgation, cleaning of, purification of emotions. But in between that, Shakespeare used it in a clever way, that is some humorous speeches, some comic scenes, which are intended to elevate the tension, to reduce the seriousness of the tragedy. So he has used very important comic relief scenes in English literature. That is a drunken porter. Please make a note of these points. Drunken porter is a important scene. Drunken porter scene is appears in Macbeth. Whereas grave digger scene, grave diggers, after the death of Ophelia, the grave diggers come into the scene, They dig the grave for Ophelia. In that situation, they makes fun. So the situation was very serious, but the grave diggers makes it in a serious way. Even in King Lear, a fool character appears, which relieves our tension. So these are very important uh, comic relief scenes in tragedies, especially by Shakespeare. And we have come to the important topic of type of tragedies. So throughout this discussion, we were talking about only Greek tragedy and the rules laid by Aristotle. And I forgot to mention the important definition of the tragedy. So very very important. I just okay. Anyhow, we will be discussing in the criticism chapter. No problem. We need not to go into the definition now. Yes, types of tragedy. This is classical tragedy based on the Greek origin. As I was mentioning, chorus is mandatory, and it was followed by the Ben Jonson and other restoration playwrights also. Whereas romantic tragedy, it was purely, we can call it as a Shakespeare tragedy. He neglected the three unities. He did not follow the three unities. That is the main difference between classical tragedy and romantic tragedy. In English tragedy, there is no chorus, no three unities, no one plot. That is, according to classical tragedy, it should have only one plot. But in romantic tragedy, there may be more than one connected plots. It is a invention of Shakespeare almost. So University Wits and Shakespeare followed this. It's a mixture of tragic and comedy, whereas classical tragedy is a pure tragedy, only tragedy. There is no comic relief scenes in classical tragedy, but in romantic tragedy, we have this in Shakespeare. And one more important term we have to remember is horror tragedy. By Webster and Ford, the scenes of violence, cruelty. Horror tragedy is nothing but scenes which are related to violence. And a very, very important term, this is frequently asked in examinations, heroic drama. The term coined by Dryden, very important. In his play, The Conquest of Granada, make a note of this, and it's very important to, it should be highlighted. Heroic tragedy in 17th century, it was invented by Dryden in Conquest of Granada. So here, in Restoration age, in 17th century, the subject matter is generally in tragedy is about the heroes, chivalrous. That means heroic deeds, their honor, their love, their war, and all these conflicts which are related to the heroes. In this way, this is simply heroic drama. Yes, and George Villiers is the one who criticized this, satired this heroic drama in his play The Rehearsal in 1671. So this is what we call the war of theaters, the war of poets or writers. So according to Dryden, heroic tragedy is invented by tragedy in Conquest of Granada, but it was satirized by George Villiers in his play The Rehearsal. Very important. And all Dryden's plays are generally heroic dramas, that is about the Indian emperor, the conquest of Granada, Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb is also important play by Dryden. Just remember these names. Okay. So Thomas Otway's Venice Preserved, very important play, and only one play is remembered by to be remembered from Thomas Otway. So the Black Prince by Roger Boyle. All these are heroic dramas, the deeds, the love, the honor, the action of the heroes, especially the kings. And she tragedy is a term by Rowe. A woman is the central character in the tragedy. That's it. Nothing to be worried about this. If the women is the central character, that is a she tragedy. So just remember the name, Rovi. And in domestic tragedy, uh, instead of heroic tragedies, it's a quite opposite to the, sorry for the mist. Yeah, it is quite opposite to the heroic drama. In heroic drama, the central figure may be a big personality. Yes, but in domestic tragedy, the central characters are low class people, like this middle class people or rural people. So ordinary characters are used in a domestic tragedy, whereas heroic tragedy uses only the noble characters. Just remember this difference. And revenge tragedy, it was part of 17th century. We have very important revenge tragedies in English literature. Few are very important. Thomas Kyd's Spanish tragedy, which is actually the base for Hamlet, and Webster's The Duchess of Malfi. This is also one of the revenge tragedies. These are related to ghosts and all other supernatural elements, poison, killing, and all other issues are shown on the screen. That is by revenge tragedies, especially in Spanish tragedy. We have more literary revenge theories, so we can go to that in detail in 17th century dramas, especially when we are dealing with Spanish tragedy and all. Coming to the next important type of drama is tragedy and comedy. So comedy is nothing but uh, laughter provoking. That is, it makes us to laugh. The word commedia, that means revel song in Greek, which means laughter provoking. It makes us to laugh. So here there are number of types of comedies, especially the comedy of humors. It is by Ben Jonson. Humor is nothing but liquid. There are four liquids in our human body, according to human physiology and all: the blood, phlegm, choler, and melancholy, black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. So these four are the important liquids in our body. If the imbalance of these liquids happens, according to physiologists and doctors at the time, and even today, it is believed, due to the imbalance of these liquids, our behavior changes. It makes us abnormal behavior. So, in this way, comedy of humors deals with four liquids of the body. Important question. That's it. Not more than this. Comedy of humor. Humor is nothing but here liquid, fluids, four fluids in the body. That is, every man is in his humor, every man out of his humor, are the famous works by Ben Jonson. Just remember this term. Comedy of humors, Ben Jonson. Again, it should be like a collocation. When I say comedy of humors, you should immediately recall the term Ben Jonson. That's it. Ben Jonson, comedy of humors. And then come to the comedy of manners. This is called restoration comedy. Yes, restoration comedy. Actually, I will just touch the previous historical issues also here. In 1642, the theaters were closed. In 1642, the theaters were closed by Puritans because they believe that theater is immoral. It's not useful for the society. So, however, we will be discussing that in the Puritan age. Don't worry. So, just remember the term 1642, closure of theaters. Why theaters were closed? Because why theaters were closed? Because the Puritans believed that Puritans are nothing but the rulers. Instead of king, Puritans ruled the kingdom, United Kingdom. So that is the reason they wanted for pure Christianity. They wanted to have a democratic approach in the ruling. So that is the reason they closed the theaters. So that will be discussed in the Puritan age. Don't worry. So after reopening, so the theaters were reopened after 18 years. That is in 1660, I think. So here, what happened? The people started demanding for more fun, more enjoyment, and in this age, especially the theater were known as restoration comedy or comedy of manners. Here, the high society, the people of high society were mocked, satired, they were portrayed on the screen, especially their love and marriage, their behavior in society, their personal and other issues. And here we have to remember that up to this age, up to this restoration comedy, there was no women character on the stage. There was no women character. That means there are women characters in the play, but there is no women actress on the play, actress on the stage. So even in Shakespeare's drama, we have Shakespeare is well known for heroine characters. There is a famous criticism. Ruskin says that Shakespeare has no heroes, he has only heroines. So, famous criticism on Shakespeare. Shakespeare has no heroes, he has only heroines. Here, but you just think about it how these women characters are played on the stage, presented on the stage, without a woman on the stage. Yeah, the answer is very simple. If you know the answer, just type it in the chat box. So, is my question clear? There are women characters in the plays, but no women is on the stage actually. That means women are not allowed on the stage at that time. Yes, male characters performed the characters of the female also, especially the young boys, the teenage boys were selected and they were dressed like women, and they used to deliver, act, deliver the dialogues and act as women on the stage. And this is the age in the question may comes, so in which of the following ages the women character, the women are the professional women actress or actress were introduced on the stage? That is in the 17th century in restoration comedy. And I already told you, due to the closure of theaters, people starved for enjoyment, they demanded more. So this restoration comedy is purely sexually openness theater. That is, the dialogues, the comical action, the actions are uh, like just sexually open dialogues. That is the vulgarity. The vulgarity is shown on the screen. So because here there are two reasons. It may be the introduction of the women actress, or maybe the more demand from the people. Here, what happened here is uh, very important term to be remembered, very important work to be remembered here is, sorry, yes, this is Jeremy Collier's. This is very, very important, and you should have to mark it as 3 star. Very important and frequently asked question. And Jeremy Collier, he released a pamphlet which is anti-theater pamphlet, that is titled "A Short View of the Immorality and Profaneness on the English Stage." It attacked the restoration comedy writers. Who are the restoration comedy writers here? The restoration comedy or comedy of manners. They are Wycherley, Congreve, Dryden, especially because they are using blasphemy, profanity, sexually openness on the stage, indecent situation scenes, and undermining the public morality on the screen. and they are giving more priority to the vice. So we know that vice and virtue are two terms. Virtue is good quality, vice is a bad quality. So sympathetic depiction of the vice, that is, they are giving more priority, they are depicting the vice on the stage, not virtue. So drama should portray the virtue, but here what is happening, they are giving priority to the vice. That's why this pamphlet satire attacked these writers, that is the restoration writers, Dryden, Congreve, Weisherly, Vanbrugh. So you have to remember these names. So the important works of this age is The Country Wife by Weisherly, The Way of the World by Congreve. These are the two masterpieces to be remembered. And even the Shakespeare's Much Ado About Noting. So this should be pronounced as noting, not nothing. This is the change in the pronunciation. This is noting. Noting in the sense, the term noting, how do we pronounce? And noting. Noting is nothing but gossiping. At the time, the meaning of the word noting is gossiping. Much ado about gossiping. The term is actually. So please just try to understand this. Page numbers, please. So it is there on the mem. 17, page number 17. Page number 17. Here it is. Here it is, page number 17. Yeah. So much ado about noting. So what I was telling is, just remember the types of tragedies, comedies. As we remember the types of tragedies, the same way you have to remember the types of comedies. One is Comedy of Humors by Ben Jonson, Comedy of Manners by Dryden, especially by Dryden in the Restoration age comedy. Here, this is the age where professional actress was introduced on the stage. First professional actress is on the stage in this age, and this is also known as high comedy because it imitated the high society. It imitated the noble people on the screen. So, and this is already, I told you, this is immoral. This is not virtue. So this has many elements which are sexually openness. So that's why Jerome Collier is the one who attacked these writers. So this is also very important work to be remembered. This should be memorized. And then coming to the comedy of meanness. Meanness is nothing but a comedy. It's a type of comedy which is aroused. The comedy is aroused because of the fear, because of the meanness. Generally in our Telugu movies, we have Raju Gari Gadi and other movies like Telugu movies. In horror, they will give you some ghost presentations on this movies, and the characters will be afraid of the ghost, and in that fear we will get the comedy. So just remember that Comedy of Minas is by David Compton. This is more than enough to remember. And Gentile Comedy, this term is very enough, by Coley Sibber. Just remember this work. And this is nothing but ridicule of the attire, dressing, ridiculing the attire, dressing of the stage, ridiculing the attire. So sorry, my voice is breaking in between. I'm sorry today, maybe of the bad weather or signal. Is it clear now? I'm just sitting outside of the room. Is it clear, Sridevi? Please. Yeah, Gentile Comedy is by Kohli Sibber. Okay, right. Thank you. Just remember, this is a ridiculement of the what do you call, the attire, shoes, wigs, dressings, and all other are imitated, satired in the comedy, that is called genteel comedy. Just term is enough. Don't go deep into this. And next one is sentimental comedy, very important. It arose in the 18th century. So this restoration comedy is in 17th century. Comedy of humors is Ben Jonson, that is 15th century. And now we are discussing about the main important comedy, that is sentimental comedy, that is in the 18th century after the restoration comedy. Restoration comedy is about high class people, noble professions, but in sentimental comedy, middle class protagonists are there. So instead of laughing, it gives you tears. It makes us to cry because of the melodramatic and situations of the pathetic situations of the day-to-day life of the middle class people. Sentimental tragedy is very important. The Steel Age Conscious Lovers, even some of the works of Dickens are called as sentimental works. So because most of these works are related to middle class people, and this is not much important. Comedy of dialogue and comedy of incidents, I just give you one simple point. Comedy of dialogue is, the comedy is aroused only through dialogue, through narration only. Action plays second part here. The action is not important here. In comedy of incident, what happens? Incident or the action gives you more comedy than the dialogues. So simple point to remember here is, in comedy of dialogue, dialogue makes you to laugh. In comedy of incident, the action makes you to laugh rather than the dialogue. So this is just a word to remember, not much important. Yes, this is very, very important. Tragic comedy, which is unknown to the Greeks, which is unknown to the Greeks, invented by Shakespeare and other, and mastered by Shakespeare. We can say mastered by Shakespeare. So, what is tragic comedy or dramatic romance? We call it as. It is not known to Greeks. It is half tragedy and half comedy. So, just remember this idiom: weal and woe. It is a tale of weal and woe. What is weal and woe? Weal and woe is nothing but happy and sad, joy and sorrow, joy and sorrow, happy and sad. So, which of the following is a tale of weal and woe? Is nothing but tragic comedy. So, the dialogue itself, weal, woe, is nothing but tragedy and comedy. So, here the complication, the rising action is a tragedy. Generally, we have seen the graph of that structure of that tragedy. Generally, the complication, that is the rising action, is a tragedy. The denouement, that is the falling action, is a comedy. It's a mix of tragedy and comedy. So this should be remembered. And here the Shakespeare is the master of this. Is Winter's Tale, Cymbeline, Tempest, Much Ado About Nothing. All these are dramatic romances. So they include supernatural powers. They are, of course, tragic and comedic. So the two elements are included. So first work of tragic comedy is by Plautus. Plautus is a Latin comic dramatist. He wrote a drama, that is Amputio. This is the work he stated as Tragico Commedia. He stated that it is a tragic comedy indirectly. In James 1, Reign also Jacobean period, Beaumont and Fletcher. He is a famous writer. This is a group of pair of writers. Beaumont is one, Fletcher is one. Beaumont and Fletcher, they wrote uh, A King and No King. This is also a tragic comedy. But the one who mastered this version is called Shakespeare. So it is lasted with the closing of theaters by 1642. This practice was lost, but before 1642, Shakespeare was mastered in this era. And there is a famous criticism in 17th century. Just please make a note of this. However, we'll be discussing it in detail in Shakespeare's criticism. We have a separate chapter for that, Shakespearean criticism. But I'm just giving you an outline of it. Shakespeare was criticized for his careless attitude because no other dramatist is making experiments. He is making experiments with the mixing of genres. That is, he is the one who mixed the tragedy with comedy. He is the one who mastered the tragic comedy. Every critic of his age was severely criticized the attitude of the Shakespeare because he is not following the classical rules of the drama. So we all know what is classical rules. A chorus must be there. I'm just reminding once again. A chorus must be there, and three unities must be followed. It must be either pure tragedy or pure comedy. But Shakespeare is very new. He mixed the comedy and tragedy. But only one person, yeah, please let me take a minute. Sridevi is saying that my voice is really breaking. Is it same for everyone or only for Sridevi? Just please, so that I can switch over to any other network. Clear, sir. Clear, clear. No, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, okay. It's clear. Okay, clear, sir. Clear. Sridevi, please check your internet connection once. So sorry for that interruption. Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir. And Dryden is the only one critic who supported the Shakespeare in this time. Just make a note of this. Dryden is the only one who supported the Shakespeare for mixing of these genres. He is a good supporter of Shakespeare in this situation, that is tragic comedy. So Dryden is a very good critic. You all know father of criticism, and this is what he said. Just make an underline of this quote. Yes, what this quote says: what pleases the Greek would not satisfy an English audience. This is very, very, very important quote to be noted. This is in his work, An Essay on Dramatic Poesy, 1668. An Essay on Dramatic Poesy, 1668. I'm repeating once again. An Essay on Dramatic Poesy, 1668. So he supported, I mean, he's the one who supported the Shakespeare first, whereas the other critics are criticizing him for mixing of the genres, for his careless attitude. But whereas the Dryden supported him, he hailed him as an inventor, as a great personality of drama. He defended the tragicomedy. Please make a note of this. Who defended the tragicomedy of Shakespeare? That is Dryden, because he says that he has invented a new way of writing which is not known to the ancients. And there is one more dialogue. I missed it here, but I mentioned it in the criticism chapter. What pleases the Greek would not satisfy an English audience. This is the first dialogue, first supportive statement for the Dryden. And second one, I just want to mention it is, if the Greeks know about this, if the Greeks know about this tragic comedy element, they would have changed their rules. So he clearly stated that వాళ్ళకి కనుక ఈ రూల్ తెలిసి ఉంటే వాళ్ళే రూల్స్ని మార్చుకొని ఉండేవాళ్ళు అంటాడు డ్రైడన్. Very important support to the Shakespeare, and should be noted about Shakespeare's tragic comedy. And even Sydney supported him. He wrote neither tragedies nor right comedies. It's a mix of these two. So please make a note of it. And we have come to the comparative or a conclusion of the tragedy and comedy now. That is, tragedy is only for catharsis. That is purification of emotions. That is purification of emotions, according to the Greeks. But whereas comedy is only for correcting the manners, it is ridiculing the personalities for making them to correct their behavior. Comedies. And you all know that it deals with the dark side, whereas comedy deals with the light side of the life. And I told you it is aimed to purgation. Purgation is purification of emotions, but the comedy is for evoking the laughter. And tragedy, we all know that it begins happily. Initially, the hero is portrayed as a famous, noble personality. It begins happily, but at the end of the tragedy, the hero dies. Whereas comedy, it begins unhappily but ends with a marriage. Please note it. Generally, a comedy ends with a marriage, a celebration. Yes, atmosphere is somber, serious, but here the atmosphere is very mythful, light, and this is very important. Bad happens to good people in tragedies, whereas good happens to bad people. That is comedy. Simple thing. Bad thing happens to the good people is the tragedy. Yes, contains the comic relief scenes. It contains the some of the tragic background also. It's possible. And these are some important terms which are related to dramas. I just want to just quote these words. It's not much important, but just remember Farsi. Farsi is nothing but exaggerated form of comedy, just like restoration comedy of manners. It is usually not in a good, I mean, it's not the portrayal of the virtue. It is about the vice. That is what I just mentioned, like Jerome Collier's pamphlet. Why did he ridiculed? Because of the its sexually openness themes. So in the same way, Farsi is the same type of writing that is in comedy. It's a type of comedy. But whereas melodrama is based on the tragedy. It is not based on the tragedy, comedy. So this whereas the Farsi is based on the comedy. It's a form of exaggerated form of comedy is Farsi. Exaggerated form of this tragedy is melodrama. It's a special term of. So the term itself says melody drama. Melody is nothing but music. Melody, music, song. Songs and music are introduced in the dramas. For example, Shakespeare's As You Like It. There are very, very important songs, important dialogues in that one. And here, this Farsis, especially Farsis, always talks about the dark. That means the not which are not suitable to show on the screen. Some incidents. So this is about the Farsi and melodrama. Just term is enough to remember. And the other term is mask and anti-mask. Mask and anti-mask. So mask is by Milton Comus. Just remember this term. Mask అనగానే మనకి మిల్టన్ గుర్తు రావాలి. So it's like a collocation. Mask, Milton. You should immediately recall the word mask means Milton. Mask is nothing but it's also a drama which is enacted with costumes, songs, music, dance, and all. But here, the special thing is the characters on the stage will have a special type of dresses, elaborated costumes. That is simply masking. They will have special dresses on the screen. So that is called as mask. So Milton's Comus is the best example. The full title of the Comus is also very important. The subtitle, sorry. So sometimes in subtitles are asked in examination, what is the subtitle of Milton's Comus? A Masque presented at Ludlow Castle, 1634. So this is the subtitle of this Milton's Comus. Please remember. The subtitle itself says Comus is a mask which is presented at the Ludlow Castle. Anti-mask is a technique invented by Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson. Here, anti-mask is also a comic and grotesque dance which is presented before the acts of or between the acts of mask. So in mask we have anti-mask. Simple thing. In a mask there is also an anti-mask. So in mask, what happens? People of high standard, noble people are used, whereas in anti-mask, lower characters, lower class people are used as a character. This is called Ben Jonson's anti-mask. So, for example, the best example to quote mask and anti-mask is Shakespeare's Tempest. Note this point example. So, in Tempest, in Act 4, at the time of the marriage engagement of Ferdinand to Miranda. Miranda is a heroine of this Tempest. So at the time of engagement, a mask is celebrated. A special type of mask is celebrated. In that scene, after this scene, there is a scene by Caliban, Stefano, and Trinclo. These three characters are there. They were chased by dogs for stealing the costumes. It's a funny comedy scene. This is an example of anti-mask. See, the engagement, the scene is a mask, and after that scene, there is a chasing of dogs. This scene is an anti-mask. So just remember the terms. More than the terms, these two persons are important. Milton, Ben Jonson. So anti-mask is by Ben Jonson, mask is by Milton. So very important terms. Please remember. And in the previous class itself, I told you what is a closet drama. Can anyone answer? Closet drama. CLOSET. I clearly mentioned in the previous class. Closet drama. Anyone, please answer my question. I am typing it in the chat box. What is a closet drama? I'm just testing you. Not to perform. Okay, for reading. Yes, right answer. The simple thing, drama is to be performed. General terms. But if the drama is written for reading, that is a closet drama. Very simple. If the drama is written for reading, that is closet drama. Very important term. And Milton's Samson Agonistes is the best example. And even the Swinburne's Atlantine Calydon, and very biggest important one is Thomas Hardy's The Dinas. So, do you know anyone of you know about Dinas? The Dinas. Anyone? Any point do you want to say about Thomas Hardy's Dinas? I will give you one important point here. If you have any point, please just type in the chat box. Why I am mentioning it as a closet drama and what is the importance of it? Thomas Hardy's The Dinas. If you know, it's okay. Otherwise, I just answer the question. Thomas Hardy's The Dinas. Very important to remember. Here, longest play. Right, right, Vinesh. Longest play. You know, in any drama, we have 5 acts. Right? Generally, drama is of 5 acts. But in Thomas Hardy's The Dinas, there are 19 acts. Remember this point, 19 acts and 130 scenes. 130 scenes. So that is why We cannot perform it on the screen. It is not possible to perform on the stage. It is only intended for reading. Do you got my point? Closet drama is written only for reading, not for performing. So that is the reason Thomas Hardy's Dinas is one of the longest plays in English literature with three parts, 19 acts, and 130 scenes. And the main theme of this Thomas Hardy's The Dinas is about the Napoleon Wars, the wars of the Napoleonic Wars. Yes, it's clear? Right. Let us move into the next point, that is one act play. Yeah, one act play is also very simple one. Brevity, short. So in dramas, what happens? The dramatist has to follow the three unities. One act play obviously follows the three unities. Very simple. We have many one act plays in our syllabus for intermediate, for 10th class also. Even in degree syllabus, we have one act plays. These plays are the setting. We can say, we can use the term, technical term, setting, are set in a small room, are set in one place. So unity of place is achieved. They are very quick, they are very brief. So unity of action is also possible, unity of time is also possible. The simple thing, one act plays is always follows the three unities. It's miniature, it's a shortest play. So however, we'll be discussing the mystery plays and miracle plays in the beginning of drama. Don't worry much. There is a separate chapter for origin of drama. However, I will just tell you the word, what is miracle play and what is mystery play. If you have any idea, please answer the question. What are mystery plays and what are miracle plays? Mystery plays and miracle plays. Any answer? Mystery play and miracle plays. Mystery is based on saint lives, Sridevi. Miracle is biblical, okay. Church, God, right? Yes. Let us see the answer. Miracle play. Miracles are based on the saints, the lives of the saints. Generally, the play itself starts with the name of saint. Saint Nicholas is a Middle English play, and we have a separate chapter on origin of drama. There we will discuss what is a miracle play and what is a mystery play and how the drama was originated. The drama was originated, it's a celebration of the gods festivals, especially the Corpus Christi Day, and drama was originated in the church compound, and later they moved to the markets, and they moved to the theaters, and now on the big screens we are seeing in like movies. Yes, mystery plays, it's based on the Bible characters in the Bible. Especially the Bible events are portrayed in the mystery plays. And mystery, and apart from mystery and miracle, we have a special type of play called morality play. Morality play, the main difference is it is there in the name itself. It is talking about the moral values of the society. So one important point to note here is the characters don't have any names like Keshav, Ravi, or some other person, Markandayal. Simply the characters are named like bravery, sin. So, some miser. One character is named only miser. One character is named only like sin. So, what they want to teach is morals. They just teach morals on the act of the by acting some some act is going on the screen, and with that we'll get some morals from that. So best example to remember the morality play is every man. Every man is a very important word, every important play of the Middle English. So directly, if I say morality play, you should remember every man. Every man is a morality play. That's it. And this is one of the modernist theaters. We have separate chapter for that. I'm just giving you a brief introduction about what is a theater of absurd. So it's already 8:30. So I will just take 10 minutes and I will close the class. Theater of absurd. Absurd means absurd things happens on the theater. Simple thing. Absurd things. Absurd things happens on the theater. That is which is not conventional, which is not we don't see in day-to-day life, but absurd things we can't even expect. So such type of absurd, ridiculous things happen on the screen. That is called theater of absurd. Martin Eslin, you have to remember this name. He is the one who invented the term, and in his work titled The Theater of the Absurd. So we have Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis. Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means a transformation. We never expect all human beings will turn into. Here, the main character has turned into a creature, special type of creature. Even Eugene Ionesco is a very important writer. His plays are very funny, very absurd. And in one play, the corpse means the dead body. The dead body's leg is going, growing. So the characters are in the characters of the play are unable to control the growth of that dead body's leg. The leg is growing. The dead body is growing in its size. So we can't expect that in a real life situation. In one of his plays, the hero waits for wants to marry a girl with a three noses. The girl should have three noses. So that is mentioned in the material. Just you go to the theater of absurd in modernism also. So you should have some curiosity to learn. So just why I'm giving some examples of the theater of absurd. And one of the best example is Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. This should be pronounced as Godot. Waiting for Godot. Godot is a person. For him, two persons are waiting. Throughout the play, they will be waiting for that person, and Godot never returns, never comes into the scene. But these two characters are waiting, Lucky and Pozo. Two characters will be there, Lucky and Pozo. They will be waiting for this Godot, and the Godot never returns onto the screen. And all these time, they will be doing some absurd activities on the screen, waiting for the same person at the same tree, doing some funny things, waiting, and they going back after the scene one, after the act one, and they will come back after the act two. Again, they will be doing some funny activities. It's a tragic comedy in two acts. So that's why Waiting for Godot is the best example of theater of absurd. Eugene Ionesco is very famous for absurd plays. Just make a note of this. Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus, is one of the very important theory. I will be discussing this, the myth of Sisyphus, in detail in existentialism. This is a theory of existentialism. It is part of our criticism chapter. I will be discussing that. And these are the examples: Waiting for Godot, Endgame, The Maid, Ionesco, The Bold Soprano. In Bold Soprano, the all the characters will be turning into uh, different animals. The birthday party, the caretaker, the Uburai, all these are famous plays of the theater of absurd. So why theater of absurd is important? Why they have come with a new idea of theater of absurd? Because the playwrights believe that our life is full of meaningless activities, repetitive activities. So though we know nothing is permanent in our life, and we are not permanent. We'll be rushing behind our goals. We'll be doing something repetitively. Sometimes they are meaningless. Even if I know I cannot do anything, I will have to start every day in the morning. I have to go to the college. I have to teach my students, even if they don't listen, even if they are not concentrating. I have to take the class. I have to make them pass, and I have to return back to the school. And tomorrow, whatever the situation it is, I have to go again to the same thing. So this theory is known as the myth of Sisyphus. Very interesting theory. I will be explaining. If you are interested, go to the existentialism chapter in my notes. Very interesting one. And problem play, thesis play, propaganda play, all these are terms which are applied to Ibsen, Shaw, and Galsworthy plays, because GB Shaw is very famous for problem plays, for thesis plays, for propaganda plays. GB Shaw is the one who takes the society, the problems of the society in his plays. They will be, the characters will be discussing those problems in the play itself. The characters on the stage will be discussing a social evil, a social problem on the screen. So that's why these plays are called problem plays, thesis plays, propaganda plays. Very important to note that. And memory play, very important term by Tennessee Williams, is glass menagerie. Very, very important play. So one, everybody should read the summary of these important plays, like whatever I mentioned here, the Waiting for Godot and other plays, the Caretaker, the Birthday Party. All these are very important. So Glass Menagerie is a work by Tennessee Williams. Here, memory play. The term itself says it is based on the memory of the characters. It is based on the memory of the characters, the memory. So they will be narrating the story based on their memory. That's it, simple thing. So please make a note of this. Here, memory is the weapon. Memory is the weapon in the memory place. And we have Epic Theater by Bertolt Brecht, very important author. This is purely against to the purgation, what we have just discussed in the classical tragedy. అక్కడ ఏముంది మనకి, the audience emotions, the emotions of the audience are raised and cleaned by purgation. But here in epic theater, the concept is entirely different. Alienation effect. One should remember this term. Alienation effect. What is alienation effect? Separation of audience from the play. This is nothing but anti-Aristotelian concept. So in this way, you have to link with the concepts. So epic theater is entirely different to the classic definition of the Aristotle's theory of tragedy. There he states that purgation, catharsis is possible. Even we have mentioned a name of a critic and his famous dialogue. Just now I mentioned. Could you please recall that? Please try to use the chat box now. I will check your memory. I was just mentioning the one who criticized the theory of catharsis and his famous dialogue. Any one of you, please. So if we recall once or twice, it will be in memory forever. Yes, F.L. Lucas. F.L. Lucas. What was he saying? Theater is not a hospital. Theater is not a hospital, because the theater is not a hospital to treat the emotions of the patients, emotions of the audience. Yes, yes. So this is very similar to that F.L. Lucas. Epic theater, what he says is, theater alienation effect should be applied. That means audience are emotionally separated from the play. They should not involve in the emotions of the play. So this is also very important concept in the defamiliarization of the Russian formalism. Defamiliarization. What is defamiliarization? The more we are defamiliarized, we think that it's very new. Familiarization. Familiar means known. Defamiliar, unknown. Very simple concept. I will explain the Russian formalism. Don't worry much about this. So, very important play by Bertolt Brecht is the Mother Courage. Mother Courage is very important play. So that's why I've mentioned here. See criticism notes. So when I say epic theater, immediately you should recall Bertolt Brecht, German dramatist, alienation effect. This is also related to F.L. Lucas. This is also related to anti-Aristotelian concept. This is also related to defamiliarization of the Russian formalism. Very important. Very, very important. The modern works, epic theater and theater of absurd are very, very important and very, very trending also. And finally, we have reached 2 points. I think it's 8:40, but I can take 3 or 4 minutes and just I will close it. I have made a separate video for this soliloquy and aside and dramatic monologue. I will just post that video in the just 5 minutes video. I will just post it in the WhatsApp group today. Just listen to that video. Soliloquy, that is solo speech. Solo loquy. Loquy means speech. Loquy means speech. So in day-to-day life, we never find any character who is speaking to himself. Of course, until he is mad, he never speaks to himself. So, but it happens on the stage. It is a literary technique. It's a device. It's a technique of drama. Soliloquy. We have very famous soliloquies by Shakespeare. To be or not to be, that is the question. In Dr. Faustus, we have a famous lengthy soliloquy at 11th hour. Was this the face that launched 1,000 ships? Very famous speech. And in Othello, put out the light and then put out the light. Very important speech. So, this is called solo speech of a character. The character is alone on the stage. He speaks to himself. Obviously, this is a direct speech to the audience, not to the other characters. So I will pause the video, don't worry. Just you can get the more explanation from that. Aside. Aside is very common in Telugu serials. I always use this word in Telugu serials, especially in Atta Mama situations, Atta and Atta Kodalu, the aunt and the daughter-in-law. They when they speak something, the other character just turn the face and says something which is contrary to the actual emotions, actual speech, actual face on the screen. So this is called aside, a side. So turning the face to the side and speaking something. So very famous literary example is, shall I hear more or shall I speak at this? In Romeo and Juliet, very important aside. And what is dramatic monologue? Dramatic monologue is a speech in a poetic form. And generally we feel that only in poetry we feel this dramatic monologues, but even in drama also it's possible. It's a part of drama, actually it's part of poetry also. It's a speech in the form of poetic form. So to a silent listener, the main character is speaking something and the other characters are listening to the speaker. He will be talking about his problems, his issues, his events and other all issues to the silent listener. Generally the listener is very silent. For example, in My Lost Duchess, the duke is speaking about his dead duchess. Until the final scene we don't know who has killed the duchess. So he reveals that I indirectly he reveals that I just killed the wife. In Andrea Del Sarto, he will the painter, the faultless painter. Andrea Del Sarto is nothing but the faultless painter. He is talking to his wife, and the wife is not interested in him, even though he is speaking to her while he is painting something. So I will just post a video of this three soliloquy, aside, and dramatic monologue. And the final topic of the today's class is, and there are some important, some terms are there, but don't worry, those will be covered in the next class. Irony. Irony are three types of irony is there: verbal irony, dramatic irony, and situational irony. Verbal irony, dramatic irony, and situational irony. So irony is nothing but a contrast. What we intend. In simple terms, there is a famous dialogue: man proposes and God disposes. So the uh, author audience may be looking at some other thing, but the action may be different on the screen. Even the characters may be wanting to do something, but the result may be different. So this is called irony, a contrast of our expectations. So verbal irony, what we say is not what is actually meant. That is called verbal irony. For example, if I want to say it is not a cold day, it is a very cold day, instead of saying using the word cold day, I can say, isn't it warm today? So if it is a cold, very cold day, I can use an ironical statement, isn't it warm today? Yes, this is called verbal irony. Even in Pride and Prejudice, we have a famous dialogue. It is a truth universally acknowledged. Very opening line of that novel, Jane Austen's novel. We should remember Jane Austen's novel. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. So the opening line of the Pride and Prejudice is, every man is looking for a good wife. But in contrast, the entire novel is about the search of a good husband, not for a wife actually. So that is the verbal irony. So in the entire novel, it is about the young women who are looking to marry a wealthy man. It is almost opposite what we expect. That is the reason understatement and hyperbola, these are two figures of speech which are related to verbal irony. And in dramatic irony, what happens, what we said or done on the what we done on the stage, he has one meaning to the character and other meaning to the spectators. So that is generally we audience come to know this, but the characters don't know about that. For example, if a antagonist speaking in a good manner to the hero, but he will be plotting something behind the hero which is unknown to the hero but known to the audience, but it is very clearly known to the audience. This is called dramatic irony. So that is the reason old people at the TV, generally if they are watching the TVs, they shout at the TV. They will just go into the TVs and they will shout at the characters, hey, look at that, he is doing something, he is not a good one. Like this they will shout at the TVs. This is what we call dramatic irony. So the very very famous example in Macbeth is, in the initial scenes of the story, the lady Macbeth says to kill the king, చంపమని చెప్తుంది. సో ఇక్కడ she says that very clear dialogue. So to make his husband, to convince his husband to kill the king, she says, hey, little water is enough to clear our deed. That means with a little water we can just clean our blood. But at the end of the scene, she says that here is the smell of the blood still. I'm not able to clean this blood. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Even if I use all the perfumes of the Arabia also, I'm not able to clean the smell of this blood. This is called dramatic irony. She intended, she convinced her husband to kill the king in the Macbeth, but later she realized that the sin she committed, the mistake she committed, is cannot be cleaned with a little water. Even the perfumes of Arabia is not enough to clean their sin. So that is what we feel. Situational irony, we generally find this. So what we expect is not done. Generally, the fire station is intended for um, put out the fire, but if the fire station is burned down, this is a situational irony. A police station is to protect us from the robberies, but even if if the police station is gets robbed, that is a situational irony. These are all very good examples. And expectation is surprise. This is what we expect and what the surprise we get has two important scenes in important in drama. Generally, expectations. So all facts are disclosed at once. There will be no secrecy. So the scene will be in a uh, linear mode. But surprise, the facts are unknown. They will be revealed at the end of the play. That is expectation and surprise. Too much expectation leads to dullness. If we expect more, if the scenes are all disclosed one by one, we lost the interest in the story. If the dramatist try to give more surprises, we lost the interest. So there should be a balance of expectation and surprise in the play. This is a technique of writing dramas. If there is too much expectation, that means if audience are easily trying to expect the story, we lost the interest. Yes, I know what is coming the next. Yes, I know what is coming next. Yes, I know what is coming. So we lost the interest. If the story is has too many twists, too many surprises, in that case also we lost the interest. So this is what there should be a balance of expectation and surprise in the plays. So this is one important point, and I discussed what is act and scene. Act is a major division of a play, and scene is a particular portrayal of dialogue. And prologue means the beginning scene, which is the introductory part, is called prologue. Epilogue means it's a end, the brief closure of the play. At the end is the which is appended or which is the last of this is epilogue. And stage directions. Yesterday we discussed this. Uh, the playwright has to give directions to the producer, how the play to be enacted, how many objects are required, how many characters are required, what type of costumes are you to be used, what type of scenery should be used. All these are given in the stage directions. And setting, I just discussed this point. This is the location of the play is called setting. Confidant, confidant is nothing but uh, the friend of the hero. In simple terms, the friend of the hero is called confidant. Confidante, that is the friend of the heroine. So to which, so to whom the hero or hero confesses his feelings. So that is very important. Horatio is a confidant in Hamlet. He's a good friend of Hamlet, Horatio. And Charmian. Charmian is a very important maid in Cleopatra. Very important character. Charmian is a maid to the Cleopatra. And we know the protagonist, antagonist, and foil is the one who is a contrast, the person who has opposite qualities of the hero. In generally contrast qualities, the quality which is lacking in the Hamlet is shown in the character of Laertes, that is called contrast characters. So Hamlet is always postponing. Postponement is his basic uh, attribute, but Laertes is very quick. He takes the decisions immediately. So that is lacking in the Hamlet. So a person or situation placed side by side in contrast. So obviously the missing elements of the hero is shown in the other character. Hubris, I told you, excessive pride. Pride means the pride is the one of the hamartia, tragic fall of the hero. So in Dr. Foster's, what happens? Very good example. He thinks that I know all the sciences, I know all the magic, I even can control the devil. But finally, he ends. We all know that how he ends. So this is what about the today's class. So these are the important terms which are related to drama. So tragedy, comedy, and tragic comedy. So and other important terms. So please go through the exercises today. So I have given almost 38 questions after this chapter. So please try to solve all these 38 questions. And also, there is a quiz for you. I will share the link in your WhatsApp group. So even you can scan this QR code. There is an app in your phone that is called Google Lens. Use that app to scan this QR code, and you will get a link directly to the questionnaire. So thank you for your patience. I actually have taken 2 hours of time today. It's a lengthy lecture, monotonous. I'm sorry for that. And now the session is open for you all to raise any questions. So I'm very happy for that.